How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Quick Cloth add-on for Blender. You install this add-on like any other add-on by going up to the left hand corner, clicking Edit, Preferences, going to Add-ons. On the right hand side of the screen you'll see an add-on setting button, Install from Disk, and find the directory at which you've had this add-on installed. To get started, at the top of the menu, you'll see a button named Spawn Cloth. When pressed, a new cloth will spawn with predetermined physics settings ready to be used at the click of your spacebar. When this cloth is spawned, the timeline automatically goes back to frame 1, ensuring that you can reorient or resize this cloth any way that you would like. The next button you'll notice is the Spawn Pillow button. By clicking this button, you'll instantly spawn a pillow, and the timeline will go to frame 1, ensuring that yet again you can reorient or resize this pillow any way you'd like. When you click the spacebar, the simulation will play, and your pillow will instantly come to life. To make sure that your cloth object functions properly, you're going to have ample geometry. But after clicking the Mesh to Cloth button when having one or multiple objects selected, play your animation to see the selected object instantly turn into a cloth object. The next button you'll see is the Text to Cloth button. To utilize this button, spawn a new text object. Go up to the menu and click Text to Cloth. If you click the spacebar, you can see that this text has instantly turned into cloth. And by clicking the spacebar again, you can pause it at the desired frame, or you can just scroll back on the timeline and find a frame that suits it best. In the UI, you'll see a button titled Repose Cloth. To utilize this button's functions, make sure that you have an object with cloth physics selected. At any given moment of your simulation, you can either click this button or pause on the frame that you would like to repose your cloth at. Click Repose Cloth, and now starting at frame 1, your cloth is going to start in the position you would reposed it at. If we play our animation at frame 1, you can see that the new starting position is the position that we reposed the cloth at. Next up, you'll see the Freeze Cloth button. To use this button, play your cloth simulation, find a frame that you would like to freeze the cloth at, and click Freeze Cloth. When your animation plays, you'll now notice that the cloth that's been selected and frozen is now frozen. You can reorient or resize this cloth any way that you would like. To unfreeze the cloth, all you have to do is click Unfreeze Cloth. Now, after the Unfreeze Cloth button has been pressed, the timeline will go to frame 1, and the new unfrozen position will be the starting frame for your cloth simulation. Although you can technically use the Freeze and Unfreeze Cloth buttons with almost any cloth simulation, we'd recommend using the Spawn Cloth button, as the cloth that this button creates works best with the freezing and unfreezing cloth buttons. You can also freeze pillows by playing the pillow animation, finding a frame that suits you best, and clicking the Freeze Cloth button. However, when freezing pillows, you're going to want to click the Unfreeze Pillow button and not the Unfreeze Cloth button, as it will keep its original shape. The only button left at the top of the menu is the Remove Cloth button. With the cloth selected, click Remove Cloth to remove all cloth physics from the selected object. If you'd like your cloth to collide with other objects, you can use the Obstacle Collision settings. By selecting an object that you would like your cloth simulations to collide with and clicking Add Collision Physics to Obstacle, when you play your cloth simulation, you'll now notice that this object acts as a collider. If you'd like this object to no longer function as a collider, all you have to do is select it and click Remove Collision Physics from Obstacle. Now, when you play your animation, making sure that the cache settings have updated, this object will no longer function as an obstacle. In the cloth physics settings, you'll notice 3 options. You can toggle all 3 of these options. There's the Enable Object Collision, Enable Self-Collision, and Enable Pressure toggles. Most of the time, the Enable Object Collision will be pre-enabled. However, if you'd like the object to collide with itself, you can enable self-collisions. One of the more useful functions of this add-on as well is the Pressure toggle. By selecting an object or multiple objects as pre-disclosed with cloth physics, all you have to do is enable pressure, and in real time while playing your animation, you can change the pressure amount. As you can see, the pressure amount actually is adjustable real time if you play your simulation, and you can get some pretty cool effects messing around with different settings in this function. If any of these toggles seem like they haven't applied to the object selected, all you have to do to ensure that it's working properly is select the object you would like to apply these settings to. Just simply refresh it and turn it off and on again. Or if you'd like it to be off, well, maybe turn it on and off, just so that these settings update and apply to your object. There's an adjustable slider allowing you to change the gravity of your simulation. That way, if you'd like your cloth to stay in place, all you have to do is select the cloth object and change the gravity to 0. Now when you play your simulation, the object will stay in place. By changing the gravity of an object, such as a pillow, to 0, keeping it in place, and using the pressure adjustment as well, in real time you can create some pretty cool effects and fine-tune different objects in their cloth simulations. By utilizing different functions together, you can create some pretty cool effects. For example, if you spawn a pillow and change the gravity to 0, maybe subdivide it 2 times, and play the simulation, in real time, the pillow will stay in place and inflate, and you can also change the pressure amount to get some pretty cool effects. You can then pause it and click Freeze Cloth, reorient it, and before you know it, you're getting some pretty awesome effects. In the cache settings, with an object selected that has cloth physics, you'll be able to change the starting and ending frame of its simulation. For example, if you like the starting frame of your simulation to be at 50 instead of 1 and the ending frame to be at 100 instead of 250, all you have to do is change the value of the start frame and end frame. Now, when you play your animation, the simulation won't start until frame 50 and it will end at 100. In the pinning options, you'll see an option to pin selected vertices. To utilize this function, all you have to do is select a cloth, go into edit mode, select the vertices that you would like to pin, and click Pin Selected Vertices. Now, when you play your animation, the vertices that had been selected will be pinned. You can unpin vertices as well with ease. All you have to do is go into edit mode with the object selected, highlight the previously selected vertices and click Unpin Selected Vertices. If you don't remember what vertices you pinned, all you have to do is go into edit mode, click A to select all vertices and click Unpin Selected Vertices. When you play your animation, you will now notice that the vertices are no longer pinned. At the bottom of the menu, you'll see subdivision settings. You can subdivide the object by clicking Subdivide Object, and you can change the number of subdivisions by changing the value here. For example, if we have the number of subdivisions as 1 and click Subdivide Object, it'll subdivide the object 1 time. If we change the number of subdivisions to 2 and click Subdivide Object, you'll see that the object has now been subdivided 2 times. You can also unsubdivide an object by selecting it and clicking Unsubdivide Object. You'll have to be careful, as sometimes unsubdividing certain objects with specific geometry can deform the object, but it also can be a very useful function depending on the scenario. You'll also notice an Add Subsurface modifier button. With an object selected, when pressing this button, the selected object will now have a subsurface modifier added to it. If you click a button a second time, as you can see, the levels in viewport and level in render get bumped up by 1 time. To remove the subsurface modifier, no matter how many levels applied, all you have to do is simply click Remove Subsurf. By using these subdivision setting functions together, you can get some very clean geometry in a fast manner. These settings are also super useful when it comes to adding more complex details to your cloth simulations, although your computer is definitely going to have to be able to handle it. For example, if we spawn a default pillow, you see that it has a good amount of detail, but it's pretty plain. By subdividing the object twice, you can see that the pillow is now going to have much more detail, although it's going to be a lot harder for your computer to process this simulation. A workflow that works well for these pillows essentially is spawning it, changing the gravity to 0 so it stays in place, messing around with the pressure settings, subdividing the object, and then freezing the cloth. That way you can use this pillow as a normal object and place it in your scene. There's so many different ways that you can utilize this add-on, but I wanted to make a general use case video with some updated functions. I hope that you found this video useful or at least interesting, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Make sure to level up your game with the Quick Cloth add-on, and I'll see you soon.